Welcome to part 3 of the video series on human resource planning. In the earlier 3 parts, we have discussed that human resource planning is the fundamental part of human resource management. It is the primary function that a human resource manager performs. It is the primary function that a human resource manager has to perform so that the profitability of the company is not impacted, that the production numbers of the company is not impacted, that the right candidate at the right time with the right abilities is available at the right place. If this kind of forecasting, if this kind of analysis by the HR manager is not done properly, then it can impact the profitability and the growth of the company. And therefore, human resource planning becomes very important for any human resource professional. Now, look at the forecasting techniques. What are the various forecasting techniques that are used when we are forecasting the demand that is going to happen for labor in a particular year? What is the method that is being followed inside of companies? The first one is a ratio or trend analysis. Now, ratio and trend analysis looks at the various years and the amount of people employed in the various years in the past. Basis of the data that is available for the past few years, you can make a random guess or you can put a statistical formula on that particular trend and you can get a random number which can be the nearest accurate number scientifically, which is the number that you should be recruiting this year. And that is when you are using the ratio trend analysis. Then we have the regression analysis, again a statistical analysis wherein we try to set a formula, we try to find out a particular formula of how many people would be required given the economic uncertainties available in the market, given the past data that the company has of how many people were recruited in various years. Then we have the work study techniques. In work study techniques, what the HR manager has to do is to study the time and motion studies of the various works involved in the company. How much time does a worker take to complete a task, and how many motions are required to complete a particular task. Basis of that, they decide how many man hours the company is going to require to complete a production number in the next year. And basis of that production number, they reverse calculate the number of employees that will be required to achieve that production number. And that is work study techniques. Next, we move on to the Delphi techniques. In Delphi techniques, we ask some of the experts of the particular company or of that particular industry, the senior resources of the company or some experts in that industry, of how many people would be required to do the job that is required in the next year. And basis of the expert's opinion, there is a long amount of brainstorming that happens and they give a random number, they give a final report on the number of employees required. And that is Delphi technique when you're using forecasting for employees for the next year. Then last but not the least, we have managerial judgments. Managers at the senior level have become experts into human resource planning. They know with the nearest possible approximation of how many people would be required to perform the job in the next year. They can give a trend analysis, they can give a random number, a very accurate kind of a number, not 100% accurate but still nearly accurate, of how many people would be required. And basis of that particular number, the managerial judgments will help the employees, the companies, find out how many employees to hire this particular year. So these are some of the forecasting techniques that are used by the companies. Once the forecasting is done, then the company has to decide what is the source of recruitment. Whether they are going to recruit from the internal sources, meaning whether they are going to transfer their own employees to a senior position, transfer somebody from Mumbai to Calcutta office, or promote some employees from a lower level to a higher level, that is internal hiring. Or the company can choose to do some external hiring, which can be through campus recruitments, through employment exchanges, through advertisements on various social media platforms, through advertisements on their website, through calling for people for interviews, through direct recruiting, or through web publishing. So these are the various sources of recruitment which happens post you have forecasted the number of people required, forecasted the number of employees required. Once that forecasting is complete, once you have got that number, these are the two ways, internal and external, that you can use to source your recruitment, to get your people. Now there are certain advantages and certain disadvantages associated with internal and external recruiting. When you're recruiting somebody from internally, then then it is a less costly affair. Obviously it is a less costly affair. People are already knowing about your culture, they already know about the policies of the company, they have a better knowledge about the particular processes, you have a better knowledge about their abilities and capabilities, and it enhances the morale of many of the employees when you are recruiting people internally. And most of the people who see their bosses getting promoted to a higher position feel motivated, feel rewarded, and once they feel rewarded, they will work for you and they will get the work done. There are certain advantages, while the disadvantages can be politics can play a role. The morale problem of somebody getting promoted and somebody not getting promoted can come in. The old concept, the people with an old concept of doing things getting promoted will again may impact your particular company. There is no fresh blood coming in, and therefore many of the times companies will not go for internal recruitment, they will go for external recruitment. Now when companies are going for external recruitment, hiring somebody from outside, there can be certain advantages. What are those advantages? New blood brings in new perspectives. Suppose you bring a new person to do an old job, he will bring a new pair of eyes, he will look at the same problem but from a different angle. Suppose you employ a pharma person for a banking job, the pharma person will bring his knowledge from the pharma industry into the banking job, and many of the times it can mean that your production numbers may go high because he's bringing a new perspective to the job. External recruitment is cheaper and faster than training people. You are getting people already who have experience into that particular field, you are getting them without having to train your own employees. So that is a cost saving measure many of the times, because you get trained people from outside through the external recruitment part. You get professionals from outside, and there is no group or political supporters. You're getting a neutral candidate from outside rather than recruiting somebody from inside who has a political connection. The organization, he already knows organization and he will bring many new insights. Now there are certain negatives of external recruitment also. Maybe that particular person will not fit the job or the organization, and if he doesn't fit the job and organization, and you have lost 3 months in the process of recruiting him and teaching him the job and getting job done from him, it's a loss to the company. He may cause morale problems for the internal employees. If you're recruiting somebody from outside, the internal employees will feel suffocated, they will feel stifled, they will feel their work is not getting promoted, their work is not getting appreciated, and they will not feel like working. Many of your employees in that case can leave the company. Candidates, if they are not selected, then there is a problem, and many of the employees who are being externally recruited will take a lot of time to adjust and to orient themselves with the company. So there are various challenges associated. There are both pros and cons associated with external and internal recruitment. But in the best of the part, human resource planning, that was the topic that we had started with. The topic ends up in getting the forecasted number, in getting the exact number of people that you be hiring this particular year, and then you have a choice, either internally recruiting people or externally recruiting people. Now there are various advantages of HRP. Human resource planning ensures that you have a pool of people available, a reservoir of talent available at any given point of time. You have enough time, you have enough people already placed in the pool, so that you have enough time in case of a shutdown happening. If some people have to move because of absence, because of leave, because of training, because of promotion, because of retirement, because of resignation, you have some people waiting in the queue who will automatically take the job, and your production will not get affected, and that is one of the advantages. Now HRP also ensures that many of the times you'll have to promote your employees, many of the times you'll have to advance them in their careers, or the existing employees, and that can mean good business, that can mean morale high for all the existing internal employees. Now there can be better placement of employees in case of human resource planning. You have reduced labor turnover because it reduced the costs. If you are recruiting people from inside, from your own company, then you need not spend a lot of time and energy in finding the right candidate from outside. So it is reduced cost for your company as an HR manager. It will, as if you do proper HRP in your company, it will ensure that you are able to handle the fluctuations in the proper way. I told you the example about corona crisis. Suddenly many of the employees are not able to go to the office. So if you had done your HRP as an HR manager, if you had done your HRP properly, you would be in a better position to handle this particular fluctuation compared to if you had not prepared well in advance. Now, this particular HRP, human resource planning procedure, provides the right inputs for any kind of recruitment and selection. It gives you the exact number of people that you should be recruiting and selecting this particular year. Not surplus, not deficit, the exact number, the nearest scientific number that you should be recruiting without causing any damage to the company in terms of losses, in terms of profitability. That is the benefit, that is the beauty of HRP. HRP also ensures that you attract and retain the best qualified employees inside your company. HRP ensures that you have enough, because you have enough time, you have enough amount of diversity inside your company. You have good amount of people who are technical background, you have good amount of people who are coming from different cultures, you have good amount of people who are women managers. So you can ensure, if you have done your HRP properly, if you have done your human resource planning properly, you can ensure you attract and retain the best qualified employees, and you also maintain diversity inside your company. Apart from that, you have to ensure that there is a proper succession planning and development planning that happens as a result of HRP being in the right process. What are the disadvantages? The disadvantages of HRP include it's a highly difficult process. There is a very great amount of difficulty in predicting the right amount of employees required. It's a time consuming exercise. It requires a lot of number crunching, a lot of statistical tools needs to be discussed, a lot of experts needs to be talked to. Only then you can come with the right number, with the exact number. It's an expensive process, and if it is not handled properly, the biggest disadvantage of human resource planning, if it is not done right, is managing the motivation of the employees. The existing employees will get demotivated if the HRP process is not done correctly, and that means loss to you. That means loss to the numbers of the particular company. So I'll end with this particular quote: you do not build a business, you build people, and the people build the business for you. So you have to ensure that you find out the right people, recruit the right people, and hire the right people. And how can you do that? You can do that with the right human resource planning. It's all about having the right people with the right abilities in the right place at the right time. Thank you so much.